Hello and welcome once again to the video. In this one I thought I would take a look at the Ahsoka TV series. Now, I did a video a few months ago, a couple of months ago, something like that, talking about what I thought of the first 3 episodes. I believe it was the first 3 episodes. I thought about doing one after every episode, but a number of the episodes didn't really have a lot going on inside them, so I didn't. So here I am, a little bit belatedly, doing one, just an overview of what I thought of the whole series, basically. So, Ahsoka. Star Wars. Okay, so what did I think? Well, positives and negatives I take out of the Ahsoka series. In a way, because I'm a big Star Wars fan, no Star Wars series is ever going to distress me at all. Let me just get this in focus in case it isn't. Yeah, no Star Wars film or TV series is going to stress me out too much, because I can always create distance between the original Star Wars trilogy and any film or TV series that comes after it. I particularly liked the prequels. I know most people attack the prequels. I've always liked them, even though I am an original trilogy person, basically. I saw Star Wars in the cinema on the 21st of March 1978, when I was 7 years old, just coming up for 7 years old. So I am definitely an original trilogy fan. But I still loved the prequels. The style is totally different, but they, to me, even if I didn't like the prequels, it wouldn't bother me because they don't touch the original trilogy. The only complaint I've ever had about Star Wars content is the special editions in 1997, because they tampered with the original trilogy, basically, with some horrific CGI that was put in. They did it too early, basically. George Lucas thought, right, okay, we can do computer animation now for a number of years, so let's do it. But in 1997, that was still too early, really, to do good computer animation. It was horrific, especially the walking behind Boba Fett scene, where it was originally shot with a human playing Boba Fett. So they had to have Han Solo lift up into the air as he walked behind Boba Fett in that scene that was originally shot, back in 1976 or whenever. Because, not Boba Fett, what am I saying? Jabba the Hutt, sorry. Because Jabba the Hutt was a, long slug type creature, when Han Solo walked behind him, he had to lift up, and it looks horrific. It's been tidied up over the years. It looks a little bit better, but it still looks bad, in my opinion. And now, whenever I recommend the original Star Wars films to someone, the original Star Wars, if they haven't seen it, and I say, you should see this, it's fantastic, it was made in 1977, they then come back to me and say, well, hang on a minute, there's clearly some ropey computer animation in there. And I have to then explain, oh yeah, there were bits of it were put in 1997. And of course then they're not impressed then, because they think, oh, okay, so everything I saw that's good in the movie is probably from 1997. Whereas, of course, it isn't. You know, the attack on the Death Star, most of that is all original 1977. But, of course, you've lost your audience then. They're thinking, oh, well, forget it. It's not a 1977 movie. It's 1997. So that I find that very, very frustrating. I wish they hadn't tampered. I don't care what else they do, what other silly films or TV series they might do. Don't tamper with the original trilogy. But anyway, it's done now. I think you can only tamper with something like that if you're including scenes that were shot at the time. And yes, the Han Solo Jabba the Hutt scene was shot at the time, but the problem is it was with a human. So they had to add in Jabba the Hutt, the actual creature, Jabba the Hutt. So they shouldn't have put that in. Only put in scenes that are that were shot at the time, not new stuff. Shouldn't do new stuff. Okay, I've digressed a little bit there, haven't I? So yeah, so my basic point is that I will always like Ahsoka because I like any Star Wars. As long as it doesn't tamper with the original trilogy, I like any Star Wars. And it was good. Let's start off with a positive. They had really good trailers. I know it's a bit silly really because it's just a trailer, but I absolutely loved the trailers for Ahsoka. I thought this is going to be fantastic. This is going to be a great thing to watch. Very colourful. I wanted Ahsoka to be colourful and have lots going on the screen. Just like with the prequel trilogy, that was very, very colourful. Lots going on, lots of people, lots of characters, especially on Coruscant. Loads of stuff going on. Obviously, the actual TV series Ahsoka itself fell short there, but I'll mention that in a moment. I think it had good acting, especially from, was it Ray? The late Ray Stevenson, who unfortunately passed away earlier this year, a few months ago. He played, look at my notes here to make sure I don't misspell anything. Is it Baylan? Skoll. It's a good name, that, Baylan Skoll. He was great. Great acting, I thought. There was a lot of scenes where he just seemed to be staring off into the distance, and we never knew what he was staring at, which was a bit annoying. Even the whole thing, the last episode ended with him once again staring off into the distance, and we thought, I wonder if we're going to find out if what he's actually looking at. But no, we still didn't. So that last scene, by the way, I can't remember much about the Clone Wars TV series. But I know that there was some references to that within this series, which is sort of lost on me a little bit. I know there's a famous trilogy of episodes called the Mortis Trilogy, and apparently there's a big reference to that at the end of this TV series. I'm going to have to rewatch. I am currently rewatching the Clone Wars, the TV series on Disney, but I'm only in series 2. I'm not sure where the Mortis Trilogy comes in. I probably watched it at the time, 15 years ago or something, but I can't remember anything about it. But anyway, great acting by Baylan Skoll. It's such a shame for Ray Stevenson that he's passed, not just for for his sake and his family, but also for Star Wars fans, because he was really good. He didn't have a lot to do. He didn't really have to develop his character that much, unlike Rosario Dawson. Is it? Dawson's quite simple, yeah. Who, of course, played Ahsoka Tano. Is it T-A-N-O? I'm just going to put Ahsoka, in case it isn't. Yeah, she had to sort of develop herself. She started off a bit sort of grumpy, arms folded all the time, sort of like she didn't have to develop her facial expression. Ahsoka had this rather annoying semi-smirk on her face the whole time. But her, the way she reacted to things that she had to develop and change over time. And she was good at that. She was a bit grumpy at first, the character, and then she goes through some sort of rite of passage or something with a bit of a confusing episode where she sort of maybe dies but doesn't quite, and then possibly enters the world between worlds. Or does she really? Or is it all a dream? Is she floating on the surface of the water when she falls in the water? Or is she being actually physically taken to the world between worlds? Or has she... that's something I'm not a fan of, the world between worlds. Or has she died, and she's, I suppose maybe the world between worlds is possibly the nether world between the here and the after or something, I don't know. But she confronts Anakin. Is that a figment of her imagination? Like Han Solo must have been with Kylo Ren at the end of The Rise of Skywalker. Is it a figment of her imagination, or is Anakin really there, wherever there is? Oh, it's all so confusing. Anyway, she comes back slightly different, a little bit more positive. But anyway, she did have to develop her character a little bit, so I think she did as good a job as she could. They obviously told her to fold her arms a lot and look a bit grumpy with a smirk on her face the whole time, and she did that well. Ray Stevenson didn't really have to do anything with his character, but he still played it very well. I liked Huyang. I mean, who didn't? Great, isn't he? Oh, I've written the... supposed to write the actor's name there, aren't I? Never mind. Huyang, played by, of course, David... well, not of course, but was played by David Tennant, who, of course, played Doctor Who some 15 odd years ago. Yeah, good character as well. A little bit strange. He's supposed to have been in existence, not alive, of course, but in existence for about 20,000 years. And yet sometimes he'll talk about something that happened 40 years ago as being something that happened a long, long time ago or something. So, for him as well. So, yeah, often the things that he would say wouldn't tie up with him being 20,000 years old. But I'll tell you what, he's probably had so many different parts of him replaced that he's no longer 20,000 years old. A bit like if anyone's watched Only Fools and Horses, the comedy, one of the characters in that, Trigger, had a broom, and he said that the broom was 20 years old. All the other characters were impressed, and then he said, "Yeah, I've only changed the head of the broom 5 times, and the handle of the broom 3 times." So, yeah. Basically not 20 years old. So that might be the case with Huyang. Maybe all his bits and pieces have been replaced loads of times, but his consciousness maybe is 20,000 years old. I love the graphics, great graphics. I'm only talking about mainly good things at the moment, but I thought the graphics were very good. The spaceships. I love spaceships. It's the thing I love the most about Star Wars, spaceships. Love them. I love the fact that, unlike other sci-fi series, George Lucas didn't make the mistake of trying to make them all streamlined, because, of course, you don't need them to be streamlined in space. However, some that go through the atmosphere, like a Naboo fighter, for instance, they do have to be streamlined. So he thought about that really well. That's why you have some really great, weirdly shaped spaceships, because they don't have to be streamlined at all in space. So you have all sorts of wonderful designs. I love the spaceships in Star Wars. Thrawn. I thought Thrawn was good. He was a little bit too fat. I will put that down. too chubby. Especially seeing as he was on this planet where nothing seems to grow. So he had a bit of a belly, which I think takes it away from him. When you see his face, you see, oh yeah, that's scary Thrawn. When you see his body, oh, that's Uncle Frank. It it's not quite as scary then when you see his chubby tummy. But still, good character to enter live action for the first time. I remember reading the books, Heir to the Empire books, and the only Star Wars books I've ever read, actually, in the early 90s, the trilogy of books. But I might read the new trilogy of Thrawn novels written by the same guy that did the ones back in the early 90s, early to mid-90s. Interesting character. He's a bit annoying in that even when something goes wrong for him, he still makes out that that's the plan all along. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how failed a plan is. He'll still make out that it's a success in some way, and it's what he planned all along. And that's a little bit irritating. Let's throw in a well, I'll tell you what, incidental music. I liked the music. I thought the music was good. Good incidental music. Yeah, I thought the music, the main theme tune, it's a bit grungy, a bit like The Mandalorian, but it's still good. Now let's get into some negatives though. Why do we need another galaxy? Is the Star Wars galaxy not good enough, not big enough, that we need to go to another one? Why do we need to go to another one? Why do we need the world between worlds? World between worlds. Why do we need that? I mean, I know that came in... Why do we need the world between worlds? That was brought in during Rebels, wasn't it? It wasn't Clone Wars TV series. It was brought in during Rebels. Why do we need that? What's the point? What is that supposed to be? They don't even explain what it is. It just seems to be a bit of a MacGuffin, something that you can use to get somewhere else. And the other MacGuffin I don't like as well are the... that's it, the Purgils. MacGuffin. How do you spell MacGuffin? I think it's... Is it? MacGuffin? You know what a MacGuffin is, yeah? It's a device that's brought in to just enable the plot to happen, basically, a bit easier. A device that's nothing to do with the plot itself, but it just enables. And of course, that's what Purgils are, aren't they? It's these big giant flying whales that manage to fly between galaxies. I mean, come on, that's ridiculous. Even for Star Wars, that's ridiculous. But it enables people to then fly between galaxies, doesn't it? I know the Purgils came in during Rebels, I think, again, were introduced then. They're the biggest MacGuffin in a TV series or film since, I would say, the Babel fish in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Anybody who's read that. The Babel fish was something that you put it in your ear and it fed on foreign language and then excreted your own language into your ear. So it was the perfect translator, basically. And it got rid of all of the problems that the writer Douglas Adams had with people from different planets talking to each other. All they had to do was put a Babel fish in their ear. Boom, done. Now, this is the biggest MacGuffin since then. It might even be a bigger MacGuffin. So I'm not a fan. It's just a bit too silly. The Rebels, Star Wars Rebels, brought in things that were a little bit too ridiculous in my view. They got a little bit too bonkers. And of course, because Dave Filoni has written this, he also wrote Rebels, didn't he? And Clone Wars. So he's obviously going to bring all those things in, isn't he? Annoyingly. That's another thing, another issue I have a little bit. Not a massive issue, but it's not really a series about Ahsoka, is it? It's a series about Rebels, the Rebels crew, and them getting back together. Ahsoka just seems to be a way of getting them back together again. And they will all eventually, apart from Kanan, who's dead, they will all eventually get back together again. Well, maybe he will as well. Maybe he's stuck in the world between flipping worlds, you know. So he might come back as well, who knows. They can use that giant MacGuffin of the world between worlds to bring him back. They went to this other galaxy, okay, and from that rather flat, ordinary-looking planet, Seatos, and they went to this new galaxy. And when they got there, was it all lavish and wonderful and colourful with giant man-eating plants of all different colours and all that all sort of stuff you would get in the prequels? No, it was yet another desert planet, basically, wasn't it? Yet another one. I would go, if I lived in the Star Wars galaxy, the only reason why I would try to get to another galaxy is to escape the desert worlds. So it'd be a bit disappointing if I just went to another desert world. So yeah, that was a little bit annoying. And it's such a boring planet. Peridea, is it called? Peridia. And we have Seatos, which was the one that they left in order to get to Peridia, or Peridia. Let's just refocus again. But I thought, what an ordinary, boring planet. And the only people that seem to live there are these sort of ninja turtles. Ninja turtles and or some bandits, of course. There are always bandits everywhere, aren't there? I mean, they wouldn't have anyone to rob. What are those bandits doing there? They've got no one to rob on that planet. They must have said, oh, we've been here for hundreds of years, Earth years, and at last someone's turned up in a spaceship and a giant flying whale as well. And we can at last attack them and steal their stuff. You know. But all these planets, they always have bandits on them, don't they? All the time. And of course those sort of horse dogs as well, the horse dogs. That seem to be more friendly than anything else, the horse dog. Even though they looked vicious, they seem to be very friendly, the horse dogs. But that was it. Ninja Turtles, horse dogs and bandits. And that's the new galaxy. And of course now they've come back from that. Well, they haven't come back from that galaxy, have we? Ahsoka is still there. How is she going to get back? Well, I suppose she'll just jump on a whale and then she'll get back that way, won't she? It'll be easy enough. So, yeah, what else then? They were very lucky that the Purgils went to Peridea, unless that was communicated in some way, unless the Perideas read Ahsoka's mind. But then again, Ahsoka didn't know where they were going because she hadn't seen the map. So is it just blind luck, just good fortune, that the Purgils happened to go to Peridea, where Thrawn was, and where Morgan Elizabeth had gone, with Baylan's Skoll and Shin Hati. I quite liked Shin Hati. She had that sort of desperate, wide-eyed, I want to kill something look on her face all the time, just like Darth Maul. That desperate, you know, just let me do something. And Darth Maul was like that all the time. Let me at him, take my leash off. And so I thought she was really good. I mean, she seems to have disappeared at the end of the series. I don't know where she's gone. Are they going to recast Ray Stevenson? Or recast Baylan Skoll, I should say. I think they probably should, rather than, if they had a good story planned. I mean, he's on the planet. Ahsoka's on the planet. They must have had some confrontations planned for season 2. Don't want to lose that. So I think they should recast. Be a shame. Be difficult because he was so good, Ray Stevenson. Even though it's a very simple role, he was still good in that simple role. But I think they should. But yeah, very lucky. Maybe I'm missing something there, but you know, in that other galaxy, how many stars would there be? Probably about 300 billion stars. More planets than stars, probably. But they managed to go to that very one. And also, how did Thrawn, completely by chance, happen to go to the home world of the Night Sisters from Dathomir? All the other billions of planets he could have gone to when he got transported in the World Between Worlds thing. And he happens to go there, just by chance, you know? I suppose you can't think these things through too much, can you? But some of it is a little bit too far-fetched. I mean, when the Millennium Falcon survives an asteroid field where the odds are like 3,270 to 1 or something, according to C-3PO, that's acceptable because the odds are only 3,270 to 1. They're not like, 500 billion to 1. So plus the skill with the Millennium Falcon would reduce those odds. So that's acceptable, those sort of things. But this I don't think is. I actually think that it wasn't a very Star Warsy series. Book of Boba was more Star Warsy for me. Yeah, that had its own issues, but it was a very attractive, very nice looking series. Book of Boba, I thought. Okay, we had those silly teenagers on their mopeds. That was ridiculous. And the fact that Boba Fett went soft as well, that wasn't good. That was terrible that he went soft. But the look of Book of Boba, I think, was far better than Ahsoka. Not the trailers, I love the trailers, but the actual TV series was bland, I think, relatively, apart from the spaceships. I mean, I'm talking about the planets, really, and the lack of life. I wanted them to, if they went to another galaxy, I wanted it to be like Coruscant. Or that planet that features in the prequels, very briefly, that has big, giant, colourful plants. When the purge is happening with the Jedi, one of the Jedi is attacked on this planet that has big, giant, rubbery plants, all of different colours. That's the sort of thing I wanted, not another desert planet. And it's just a little bit weird because these Night Sisters, are there just 3 of them just there? Who makes their clothes? The Turtle Ninjas. Ninja Turtles. I mean, is it just 3 Night Sisters there and that's all? There's like no life on that planet at all, apart from 3 women in dresses. And it's just, anyway, it's just a little bit, I find that a little bit frustrating. They could have done so much more with that, made it so much more exciting, I think. What I have just noticed is that's not Hati, of course, that's Hati. Shin Hati. I just noticed that. I just paused the videoing for a moment, and that's when I noticed I'd put Haki instead of Hati. So there's only one other point that I just wanted to make, and that was the fact that the last 2 episodes... Oh, sorry. There was just one other point that I wanted to make, and that was that the last 2 episodes were so samey. To be honest, as soon as they got to Peridia, there was a lot of running around. We need to get from A to B, and then we need to get from B back to A again, and then A back to B again. It reminded me of the 6-part stories that Doctor Who used to do back in the 60s and 70s. I don't remember the 60s, but I remember the 6-parters in the late 70s, before they reduced them to fewer episodes. And it was because there was not enough story to fill 6 episodes, so they would just run around. Oh, now we've got to spend an episode running over to here. Now we've got to spend an episode running over to there. And here, episodes 7 and 8 in particular were basically the same. Basically the same episode. Just a lot of running about. Let's go over here now. Let's chase these people over here. Let's chase them back over here. Let's fight them a little bit. Let's go back over here now. And to be honest, all of the episodes on Peridea were a little bit like that. Well, there might only have been 3 or 4, but you know, when I look back at the series, my image of Seatos is just that cliff edge. Everything happened on the edge of a cliff in Seatos, and in Peridea, everything happened in a desert environment or on the ship. I don't like the zombie stormtroopers. That's turning it into a sort of like a Hammer horror thing, that is. See, this was all brought in, wasn't it, by during Rebels, all this sort of stuff. I don't know if zombie stormtroopers was brought in during Rebels. I think it's been done before, that sort of thing, not with stormtroopers, but with something else. I can't remember. But I think it's just gone a little bit too bonkers. Get back to basics. Get back to the fun stuff. We don't need to go to a different galaxy. There's so much to explore in the Star Wars galaxy. And then they've made out that Thrawn came from this other galaxy as well. I mean, why? Why does he need to have come from a different galaxy? And the Dathomirians as well, the Night Sisters from Dathomir, they've apparently came from this other galaxy, from this particular planet, Peridea. It's all unnecessary. I don't know why they're doing that. So because of that, even though I still like it, and I still looked forward to every episode, and I still watched every episode, I like it because it's Star Wars, and it has lovely spaceships in it, and it has lightsaber duels. The actual story and where it's set, I didn't like. I preferred Book of Boba, even with the mopeds. I still prefer, and Soft Boba, I still preferred Book of Boba. And also Kenobi, even though that had its faults. And of course The Mandalorian, which is probably the best of all the TV series, I think. Andor is good, but it's not a Star Wars series, Andor. Very loosely anyway. It's not really it was made by someone who's not into Star Wars, so it's not very Star Warsy. Tony Gilroy. Oh, so basically there you go. There you have it, and there it is. I have probably attacked it more than I've praised it, but the basic facts are I liked the acting, most of it, because I thought Sabine Wren, played by Natasha Liu Bordizzo, she was good, as was Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Hera, Syndulla. So I did like the acting. I thought the acting was good. I thought spaceships were good. Lightsabers was good. The fact that it was a Star Wars TV series was good. I didn't like the plot. Thought it was a bit flat, uninteresting, a bit boring. All it's about is getting the rebels back together again. It's not about Ahsoka. And also I didn't like the locations. Boring locations, basically. Okay, so that's where I'm going to finish the video. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to me rant. And if you'd like to subscribe, please do so. I have lots of Star Wars videos on my channel, along with lots of other things. If you'd like to subscribe, please do so, or like or comment on the video. And I will see you on the next video. Until then, thank you very much, and goodbye.